Alright, so Nothing just dropped their latest phones, the Phone 3a and the Phone 3a Pro. And I'm super pumped to chat about them with you because, as you all know, Nothing doesn't follow the typical smartphone formula. Let's go over most of the new spec changes first when compared to their predecessors, the 2a series. Here you'll find a good amount of sweet upgrades. Obviously the biggest one is the design, but we'll get to that in a second. Now both phones have a slightly larger footprint, are a tad heavier, and are just a smidge thinner than its predecessor. Under the hood they're rocking the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, which is 33% faster than the MediaTek Dimensity 7200 Pro, which was found on the older Phone 2a. The display? Oh, it's a beauty. Slightly larger, way brighter AMOLED, hitting a peak brightness of 3000 nits, up from the 1300, and instead of Gorilla Glass, they've gone with Panda Glass this time. They've also got a water resistance rating of IP64, up from the IP54 rating, charges at 50 watts instead of 45, which was on the baseline of the 2A, and oh yeah, there's some new camera hardware, which we'll get to in a second. Now, let's talk design. I just love how these phones look, and as usual, they boast Nothing's unmistakable signature aesthetic that you simply won't find elsewhere, paired with these awesome looking glyph lights on the back surrounding the camera modules. The Pro's design is especially striking to me. This camera module and its layout won't be to everyone's liking, and I'm sure that's very clear to see, but when you're trying to keep the design language fresh in an industry that's already very saturated, a little too simple, dull, and boring in a lot of ways, you gotta go for it and try new things. It actually reminds me of how everyone saw the Cybertruck's design when it was first revealed. You either loved it or hated it, no in between. And I feel that's how everyone's taking on Nothing's abstract design choices. One thing you can't disagree with though is Nothing's boldness to strive for a creative, unconventional visual makeup. It's definitely different and not boring. Now one nitpick about the Pro's rather large camera module is that because of its protrusion, it makes for the perfect shelf for collecting dust. And even though I've only been using it for around 2 weeks, I've already found dust sneaking in, which isn't too fun to see. Now as for the build quality, both phones are solid. They each have a new glass backplate instead of polycarbonate, and a new aluminum midframe instead of plastic, which has this matte coating that helps resist fingerprint smudges better and provides better grip too. They feel great in the hand, and the buttons also feel really great. They're super easy to reach, nice and clicky, and very tactile. Oh, and speaking of buttons, there's a new one called the Essential Key. This thing is neat. It works with AI to help you keep track of what's on your screen by pairing screenshots with voice clips. When you press and hold the Essential Key, the phone will take a screenshot and instantly start a voice recording. So say you're doing some online shopping and you spot something that you think a friend would love as a gift. Press and hold the Essential Key and it'll snap a screenshot and start recording your voice so you can explain why it's perfect for them. The screenshots can then be found in the Gallery app as usual, but Nothing actually went a step further and created a dedicated app called Essential Space to complement this button. You can even jump straight to it by double pressing the Essential Key. Here you'll find those screenshots with voice memo playback, as well as a transcription and summarization of those recordings. You can also create collections to easily organize your screenshots. It's a simple but kind of effective way to tell a story behind something you just captured. I kind of dig it. It's kind of like Google's Screenshots app, but with a twist, and it's only going to get better. In the coming months, Nothing will be adding features including camera capture highlights, allowing you to use the hardware key in conjunction with the camera app. And there's also smart collections for automatically cataloging collections. The only thing though is that I just have a few gripes with the Essential Key. For one, its button placement is right below the power key, making it way too easy to confuse one button over the other and press the wrong one by mistake. Plus, since it's positioned in the same spot as where my thumb or finger lies, I often find myself accidentally triggering a screenshot when I actually just want to lock the phone. Plus, on top of that, I would have loved to be able to remap this button to do other things. Luckily, that can easily be fixed with a software update, so fingers crossed for that. And speaking of software, let's talk about it. The 3As are rocking Nothing OS 3.1 built on top of Android 15, and so far, I'm loving everything about it. It still feels like a stock Android ROM with some additional exclusive useful goodies. Along with the minimal and unique monochrome UI that we've all grown to love, Nothing added a few new features like an upgraded lock screen, which is a lot more customizable. You can add a lot more widgets and change the clock style. The quick settings are a lot better too, and way better than most other Androids, since you can now even expand the tiles into different shapes and sizes. It reminds me a lot of how iOS lets you change their tiles within their control center. Makes everything look a lot cleaner and fresher. And there's even a new way to organize your apps in the app drawer. It's called Smart App Drawer, unique name, and it'll automatically throw your apps into categorized folders. It's not my cup of tea, but I know some of you might appreciate it. So Nothing OS is definitely starting to grow on me. With that said, I do think there's still room for improvement. For instance, the glyph progress feature, where you can track things with the lights on the back, it still only supports the same few apps. When are we getting new ones? Most of the stock widgets are stuck at a 2x2 size with no way to expand them, which makes them feel a bit off when you switch to a home layout of 5x5. And lastly, the system fonts are still pretty inconsistent. Certain titles use the dot matrix font, while others use Inter, and some widgets, like the weather one for example, have a totally different typeface. These aren't huge issues by the way, but they're definitely things that would help clean up the OS if they were improved or fixed. And also, Nothing's update commitment is around 3 years of OS updates and 6 years of security patches, which isn't bad at all considering how new this company is, but I still would have liked to see at least 4 years of OS updates. Now, even though this video isn't over yet, but you're ready to drop everything and grab one of these shiny new Nothing phones, there's one more thing you should do. Make sure it's locked down against online threats. As a matter of fact, all your devices should have some kind of VPN protection because it's so easy to get hacked nowadays. My go-to choice for years now has been Surfshark, the sponsor of this video, because not only does it have the most effective tools at keeping hackers and trackers off my back, but it's also crazy affordable. Like, we're talking less than a Starbucks coffee. And here's the best part. One account covers all your devices and you can share it with your friends and family so all their devices can stay protected too. Plus, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't love it, you can cancel anytime and get your money back. Now let me tell you, getting hacked these days is way easier than you think. Hackers don't even need your password anymore. They can just send a fake email with a link or file, and the second you click on it, boom, malware has been installed on your device. And these phishing emails, by the way, they're getting ridiculously convincing. I actually got one the other day pretending to be from YouTube, and it looks so real. If I had clicked on it, who knows what kind of malware would have ended up on my device. That's why security tools like Surfshark are a must. It's not just a VPN. It's got antivirus protection, data breach alerts, anonymous browsing, and of course, top-tier VPN security. Plus, my favorite thing about Surfshark is that it even lets you bypass geo-blocks. For example, The Wolf of Wall Street isn't even on Netflix in the US, but if I switch my location to the UK, boom, it's there. Oh, and here's a sneaky little trick most people don't even know about. Some websites actually charge you more based on your location. With Surfshark, you can switch regions and get the best price instead of overpaying. So if all this sounds good to you, head over to surfshark.com/HTM and you'll even get 4 extra months for free. Check it out now. Anyway, battery-wise, the Phone 3a series is pretty much the same as last time. Both phones stuck with the same 5,000 mAh capacity as their predecessor, and there's nothing wrong with that because I honestly didn't have a huge problem with the battery on the Phone 2a Plus. I also haven't been able to use the Phone 3as long enough to really say how well the battery performs, but according to Nothing, they say you can get just under 11 hours of gaming, around 44.5 hours of voice calls, and a little under 22 hours of music playback. Plus, of course, you still get some decent charging speeds with that 50-watt charger, so you can literally go from 0 to 100% in just under an hour. But unfortunately, you still don't get wireless charging on these phones. Now getting to those cameras. The 3a is sporting a new 50 megapixel telephoto lens with 2x optical zoom, an 8 megapixel ultra wide swapped from a 32 megapixel lens, and a new image signal processor. Now as for the 3a Pro, it's got a 50 megapixel primary shooter that lets in more light, and according to Nothing, captures 34% less noise. It's also got a 50 megapixel front-facing camera that now shoots up to 4K video, which is great, and the same 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens on the back as the 3a. But here's the kicker. The Pro has a periscope telephoto lens That means 3x optical zoom and lossless in-sensor zooming up to 6x, which is double of what you get on the regular 3A. Oh, and it can do macro shots too, with a 15 centimeter minimum focus distance, which is pretty great. Nothing's also hyping up their Ultra XDR and TrueLens Engine 3.0 tech, which combines AI tone mapping and scene detection for professional grade photography. I'll do further camera testing on the full review of this phone, but for now, these are some shots that I've gotten with these phones so far. Let me know what you think. Finally, let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, pricing and availability. In the US, if you're part of Nothing's beta program, the 3A is available to order starting March 4th, and the 3A Pro is available to order on March 11th. The 3A starts at $380 with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage in a black and white model, and the 3A Pro goes for $460 with those same specs in gray or black. The US variants are compatible with these bands here, and annoyingly enough, you'll have to contact your carrier for 5G access. And if you're interested in global pricing and availability, here's that too. Unfortunately, as of right now, in the US, we won't be seeing this sick new blue model, which I'm kind of disappointed in because it looks really nice. Now, to wrap things up, I've got to say I really love the new Nothing 3A series, especially their designs. I know some of you may not like them, but I still think they're bold and a refreshing take from every other smartphone in the game. Plus, they genuinely have some great unique software features that I appreciate. And for those curious, these are also really friendly for rooting and ROM flashing if you're into that kind of stuff. They're also not a bad choice if you're tired of the same old smartphone look and just want something fresh. Anyway, tap this video right here to find out about some Nothing exclusive features that I truly love using, and also let me know what you think of Nothing's new Phone 3A and 3A Pro. I'd love to hear your thoughts about these phones in the comments. Be sure to get subscribed so that you don't miss out on my reviews of these phones in the future. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Kapow!